I can't stress this enough, and I know if you flipped a lot or if you haven't even flipped yet, you will never hear me, tire of saying it. You have to absolutely know your ARV and your rehab. I'm going to go like a mile wide and not super deep. I didn't quite know how to approach this because we could spend 3 days on like any one of these topics. So bear with me a little bit. We're going to go a mile wide and not very deep, but hopefully it'll give you some framework or an idea that you maybe didn't have before. And then offline, I'm happy to go over any of this stuff in more detail. And text or email me if you want these slides if they're helpful. You don't need to take pictures of them. I'll email them to you later, right? So I'll give the head nod to, you can go ahead and, okay, so quickly about me. Married, got 3 kids, one in college, believe it or not, a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old, and we live in the Cottonwood Heights area. My game, I got 4 buckets that I play in. Hard money lending, which is probably now more of what I do. Brokerage, I have a brokerage. I call it Conrad Cruz, I made it up. I also would like to be a guy named Conrad, so I figured I'd name my brokerage Conrad Cruz. So, and I like to feel like I'm, Latin a little bit, right? So, I'm really not, but I can pretend. So, I totally made it up. He doesn't exist, but so I joke with the title company that Conrad's waiting for his check. He's really pissed, and anyway. So I've been fixing and flipping. That's how I got into real estate for about the last, since 2004. So all in all, I've done over 400 flips. I have 5 or 6 going right now. And then, rentals, like we're talking about, long-term wealth. I love rentals and I want to get more of them. So that's a little bit about me. Okay, flipping, really anything in life, we want to start with where we're going to end, okay? So think about your flips when you're approaching a flip. Like honestly think about it as far as like how is that person that's going to buy it, how are they going to be enjoying it like a year after they live in it, right? And then back into that, how are they going to enjoy it the day they move in, right? What are they going to see when they do their walkthrough and their inspections? What are they going to see when they see it online? What are the pictures going to look like? And then back into it, like back into everything based on how you want it to be finished, right? So I'm a big believer in the end in mind, and then think of it like a chessboard maybe, and then back into that, like how, and we're going to go through all of this, but think about how it's going to end up, because that's going to help you get started, on your path. Okay, so we are going to do 5 fundamentals. I know Matt likes 3 of everything, right? We're doing 5 fundamentals, 5 aspects of each fundamental, and then the bonus is 5 qualities at the end of like the superhero flipper, all right?
I see.
Woo. And we're going to do this in 45 minutes. So there you go. All right, okay, so I can't stress this enough, and I know if you flipped a lot or if you haven't even flipped yet, you will never hear me, tire of saying it. You have to absolutely know your ARV and your rehab, right? Those 2 numbers are the most important numbers by far. Everything else is as we'll go through it, everything else is just a function of your sales price, your purchase price, and different transactional costs. So again, we're going a mile wide and not very deep, but if I could tell you anything, spend as much time as possible getting to know the market that you're playing in, what your ARV is going to be, and what your rehab numbers are going to be.
Hey, real quick, you say know the ARV and know the rehab. How would you do that with comps with like a 2-3, a 3-3, a 2-1, a 3-3?
Not to totally dodge the question, but I think that's going to be super tactical, and maybe let's pick that up on the back end, because to answer that at a high level, I think if you don't have direct access to the MLS, you really should get it one way or another, because I do not want someone else to, I want to be in control of my own comps, and I want to know what I'm looking at, and I want to be in the driver's seat. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to get help and advice from someone else, right? But that's probably a little bit deeper right now than I want to get to, but that's a great question, because you got to know that stuff, right? You got to know what street's going to sell better than the other street, what a garage does versus not having a garage and stuff like that. But everything else, and the other parts of this, right? Cost of money, number 2. Title and other predictable costs based on the sales price. Your profit margin, And then that finally gives you your offer price. You guys have seen these calculators, right? Bigger pockets, there's a ton of different ways to do it. And they can be really fancy. I do a lot of loans, right, for flippers. And sometimes they'll send me these really fancy spreadsheets, right? And it's color coded and it's got, input here, input there. And it's all garbage. It's all garbage if the numbers are garbage, right? I'd rather get a handwritten scratch pad from somebody if their numbers are accurate. If they're not accurate, I don't care how pretty it is. But just don't worry too much about, you got to have the calculator that knows how to estimate these things, but just worry about the ARV and the rehab numbers. And they actually are probably the hardest thing. I still miss on my rehab numbers, and the ARV is going to get a little bit harder depending on, the more complicated neighborhood you're in, or, the price point that you're in. It's way easier to play in the Kearns, West Valley, those neighborhoods where the homes are all built about the same time. They're all about the same size. They're all the same floor plan. So if you want to start and you're not comfortable with your ARV, start there. Go to Hoffman Heights. Seriously, go to Hoffman Heights, 40th West to about 48th West, 41st South to 5400 South. All those homes were built in the 50s. They all started out the same. Some of them now have garages, some of them have an addition. But point being, they're all so similar, you're going to find a gazillion comps, and it's going to give you confidence on how to start doing comparables. Kind of like, it's going to answer the question really that Ben asked, is what's the subtle differences between having a home with 3 bedrooms versus 2, or a bathroom versus 1, right? The hardest one to comps, as you can imagine, are going to be the ones that are a little bit unique, right? Up in Oakley. I'm looking at a loan in Oakley, and I don't know if it's $1.5 million or if it's $2.5 million. Honestly, I have no clue, right? So that's a harder place to play. So that, the more predictable first-time homeowner markets are where you're going to be. Now, the rehab budget, that's a whole other animal. Again, we could spend a week or a month, or actually we could spend 16 years trying to figure out how to, estimate your rehab budget. And we'll go over some examples, but my number one fundamental is know your numbers, with, again, being the ARV and the rehab being the most important part. And just to drill down one more time on that, because the cost of money, we're not going to go over a ton of examples today, but the cost of money is predictable. If you're getting hard money, you know what the rates are. If you're getting cash, you know what that is. It's 0, right? And so you plug that into your formula. Your transaction costs, if you have an agent, you know what a title policy is. You can figure this stuff out, plug it in, and depending on what your sales price and your purchase price is, it automatically, you don't need to think about that. Where you need to put your brain power is in your rehab budget and your ARV. And then the profit's very subjective. Do you want to make $5,000? Do you want to make $20,000? Do you want to make 30%? That's going to drive what your offer price is, and that's going to drive how competitive your offer is. It is interesting to see these wholesale deals go out, or when you're competing, and I get the comment all the time is like, that should have been mine. I can't believe I didn't get it, And I'm like, well, you're competing against a guy that's willing to make $5,000 that has cash and that's doing all the work himself, right? You're never going to get that deal. So you got to know where your comfort level is, and then you got to go for it. So, okay, so that's number one. Know your numbers.